Warning: the following program is a satirical look at Indigenous news, politics, and current events. Long pantses is advised.
Anine, bonjour. Welcome to the Laughing Drum, television so deeply and profoundly Indigenous. Johnny Depp is in talks to play us in an upcoming film. I'm your host, Tim Fontaine, and we have got an exciting show ahead. Cree filmmaker and author Sonya Ballantyne is here to tell us why Mattel should make a Cree Barbie doll. And tonight marks the return of the Red Power panel, the nichiest TV panel in this country's history. But first, let's see what's been happening on the news. We begin in the United States, where apparently nothing good ever happens. And the fallout continues from a confrontation between an Omaha elder and a Vietnam veteran and a group of Catholic high school students wearing Make America Great hats. If you're not familiar with what happened, we'll explain, even though we really don't want to. It all started when two groups bumped into each other in Washington, D.C., and then video emerged of the teens shouting, "Build the wall," while one faced off with an elder. Then this is where things get really interesting, because what happens then another video was released that apparently exonerated the kids somehow, even though they were still doing the tomahawk chop and wearing MAGA hats. And long story short, the kids are appearing on network TV and have been invited to the White House, and racism doesn't exist or something. Okay, moving on to provincial politics, where Ontario Premier Doug Ford has apparently met with controversial psychologist, author, and president of the No Girls Club, Jordan Peterson. Because of course he did. But that wasn't the only meeting causing controversy that week. Premier Ford also met with wealthy industrialist Cyril Sneer to talk about the Ring of Fire development and also a Wendigo. And for the first time in over a decade, the Canada Food Guide has been updated. The new guide says goodbye to the 4 food groups and hello to a plant-based diet, which is unaffordable for many Indigenous communities. But I'm okay with the changes because as far as I'm concerned, rabbit is a vegetable. And we turn now to fish poaching. No, not a way to cook fish, delicious by the way. I'm talking about the illegal trafficking of contraband pickerel peddled to unsuspecting Canadians by devious nichis. That includes an Indigenous man recently caught up in the net of an elaborate 16-month undercover sting operation painstakingly crafted by Saskatchewan Conservation. The payoff? $90 worth of fish. Now, I don't know about you, but I can sure rest easy now that fish fencers like these have felt the cold slap of justice's tail. So what's next for Saskatchewan's cutting-edge conservation officers? To find out, we have one on the line right now. And for apparent reasons of security, we have agreed not to use their real name. Officer, welcome to Drumtown.
Tim, it's good to be here.
Wait, what am I looking at? Where's your face?
I'm right here, Tim. Deep undercover.
You're dressed as a fish.
Incognito, yes.
Why?
Well, Tim, as you noted up front there in your intro, First Nations people, they keep fishing despite our best efforts. And proud as we are to curtail this lucrative trade, we need to step up our game, and so here we are.
Lucrative? The man tried to trade fish for smokes.
Have you seen the price of cigarettes lately?
Back to the matter at hand. How on earth do you imagine a grown-ass man in a fish costume
Incognito.
wouldn't be immediately discovered by the intended suspect? Hello?
I'm thinking.
Thinking this is the worst conservation move yet?
Thinking like a fish, more like it, because to think like a fish, Tim, is to be the fish. So by literally taking on the shape of a fish, I'm better equipped to anticipate threats to its well-being. Gotta always be one step ahead. Not that fish have feet, but, you know.
And so this getup, this suit, is what your department feels is needed to protect an industry that reels in millions of dollars for Saskatchewan every year?
Oh, heard what you did there, Tim. Nice.
Point being, officer, why is the department so determined to go to such extreme clandestine lengths to stop what really amounts to petty barter? Why, when there's so much bigger fish to fry?
Sick.
Like treaty rights to fish and trade. Well?
Well, Tim, Bottom line, no one takes fish welfare more seriously than us. And though I'd love to say more, I'm afraid this mask is starting to really chafe my face something awful. So
Right.
I gotta go.
Good night, officer.
Keep your line in the water.
All right, we got to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to sit down with Cree filmmaker and author Sonya Ballantyne to talk about why she wants to see a Cree Barbie. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to the Laughing Drum, my beloved Laughing Drumlets. I am your host, Tim Fontaine, and my guest tonight is a Cree author and filmmaker who was recently named one of 60 role models by toy maker Mattel. Now, she wants the company to create a Cree version of the iconic Barbie doll, and she's getting some high-profile support. Sonya Ballantyne, thank you so much for coming on the Laughing Drum.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, before we move on and talk about Barbie, how did you get to be named a Mattel role model? How did that come about?
Well, they sent my film company, Codebreaker Films, an email and asking to speak to me, and I thought it was for possibly a commercial that they were planning to do for Barbie's birthday. But then they asked me outright, like, we are gathering a group of women like the Avengers for 60 to celebrate Barbie's 60th birthday, and we want one of them to be you. And I was like, what? And I wasn't originally not going to take it just because I didn't play with Barbies as a kid, and I thought that would be unfair to somebody else who may have, another Native girl, maybe my sister. And so I thought about it for a long time, and then I saw all the changes they have made to Barbies recently, and I really felt that I could get behind that.
Did you ever think that you would be a Barbie, a Mattel role model?
No, never. Like, because I thought that I was going to grow up and, like, what I wanted to be when I grew up was I wanted to be Shawn Michaels, the wrestler. That's who I wanted to be, or Bret Hart if he was available. But I was such a tomboy that I wanted to be. I wanted to be everything that Barbie didn't stand for, so like dirty and like messy hair and like not caring about clothes and stuff. And so Barbies to me were like the epitome of what was girly. But I remember the first time I really liked her was when she was a marine biologist, because she came in a wetsuit and she had a whale. And I was like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing. So I played with that one.
Become a role model, that's not enough from you. Now you've started a petition to ask Mattel to create a Cree Barbie. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
Well, the petition started because I was speaking at a few Indigenous schools in Winnipeg, and when I started announcing that I was considered by Mattel a role model for Barbie, after little girls asked me if I knew Barbie, the next thing they would ask me is if I was getting a doll and when they could buy it. And I'm like, well, that's not the part of like the agreement, but like that sounds like a cool idea. So Mattel is doing a lot of really great diverse stuff. They have like such a beautiful line of called fashionistas that I really like, just because the girls are like plus size, they're dark skinned, they have really short hair, some of them, they wear glasses now. But the idea of when you Google a Native American Barbie, what comes up is just girls in buckskin and regalia, which is important because like that is our traditional clothing. But I always hated the idea of Native people being set in the past, always, and never in the present or the future. And I thought that if girls today had a Barbie that was Cree, in modern clothing, save for maybe like moccasins and like or a beaded medallion, I thought that would be the coolest thing ever. So
nice. What about Coachella Barbie?
Oh, that wouldn't be fair. That's already out there, I think. I don't know.
So what kind of support are you getting for this petition of yours?
It's been overwhelming, really, because I thought I was just, when I got to 1,000, I was excited. But I had a few people share it of influence, like Cree Summer, who's like this really amazing voice actress. She played Susie on Rugrats. She was Penny from Inspector Gadget. Like, she does a lot of great stuff. And she's named after the Cree people, like Cree Summer. Like that was what I think her dad named her. Like, so it was amazing to me. And also actor Vincent D'Onofrio, who is in Law and Order Criminal Intent. He is Kingpin on Daredevil. And I had a massive crush on him when I was young. So having a guy whose photo was in my room when I was young support me like that on Twitter, it was so cool. So I'm planning to print out that tweet and save it, because he quoted it and said how much I how much I rolled and stuff, and I'm like, this is not
Nice.
real.
And has there been some negative feedback to this?
Just a few things.
Yeah.
Like for every bad comment, there's like 100 good ones. So it's not been that crazy. But of course, like as any creative knows, like you could get like 99 good things said about you, but you always focus on the one.
Yeah.
And so like just hearing from people like this is not appropriate because of missing and murdered Indigenous women. This is not appropriate for little girls with that it could enhance like self-esteem issues. But I think that putting an Indigenous Barbie, a Cree Barbie, into modern clothing that is just like her normal everyday wear, like a T-shirt that says something funny with moccasins.
It's not a sexualized version.
Yeah, it's not a sexualized version.
Yeah.
And so that was something I really fought against, was the idea that also people thinking that this was the only Barbie I wanted. I'm like, no, it would be cool if we had Ojibwe, Dene, Mohawk, especially a Mohawk Barbie would be so cool, like Maori, like that sort of thing. I'm just really excited that this could be the next step to something else.
Yeah. I'd like a toy truck that transforms into a res dog.
Yeah, or a piece of Spam.
Or a piece of Spam. Well, especially
Spam.
yeah. Well, you're also an author. Why don't you tell us about this book?
All right, so my book is called Carrie Berry Lynn.
Yep.
Those will try to look. But it's about a little girl named Carrie Berry Lynn who has 7 res dogs given to her by her dog-obsessed Chapan.
I love it already.
Yeah, and Chapan means great-grandmother in Cree. Yep. And so it's a book written kind of out of life because my sister is Carrie Berry Lynn. She's actually pictured in here as the inspiration for the book.
Who illustrated that book?
My good friend Celeste Sutherland. I think it's one of the big parts of the book that's so amazing is just her illustrations for how beautiful. Cute everything looks. And it was one of my goals to. I told her, I gave her really big free rein with what she wanted to do, and so I just told her I want this to look like the funnest res in the history of time, the most beautiful place, and so please like make it look like that. And I think she succeeded.
Well, Sonya, thank you so much for coming on the show. I have a gift for you as well.
I was hoping to get that.
These are highly coveted. Guests on my show get a can of Laughing Drum canned luncheon meat. Sonya Ballantyne.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. If you want to see that petition of hers, go to change.org, and her book is in stores right now as well. So, thank you.
Did you know we got the social medias?
Don't lie.
It's true. Like the Laughing Drum on Facebook and follow us on Twitter right now.
Welcome back to the show, my friends, and welcome to the Laughing Drum. Television so deeply Indigenous. Elizabeth Warren took a DNA test, and now she claims that she's us. The Red Power panel is here to act like hungry res dogs and devour the hottest topics making news in Indigenous country today. This week, the Red Power panel is Laughing Drum regular and Grand Chief of Comedy for the Couchiching First Nation, Alyssa Black Wolf Kixon.
And Paula.
Making his return, the mustache and the man, comic Sasha Mark. And joining us again is an Anishinaabe musician and an inventor of the resting Nietzsche face, Leonard Sumner. Welcome back to you all. All right, so as you heard in the headlines, conservation officials in Saskatchewan spent 16 months and went undercover in order to arrest and charge an Indigenous man for selling $90 worth of fish. Panel, what are your first thoughts on this? Let's just start right there. Alyssa, what do you think?
Well, my first thoughts are like, whoa, $90. How many bingos can you go to with $90? How many packs of smokes can you buy? Like, you know, I heard they call Mr. Donald Iron the Don of Canoe Lake. Like, he's like,
he's the
godfather of Canoe Lake. And he's like, I'll give you an offer you can't refuse. I'll give you 5 pike for a pack of smokes. Never go against the family. So that conservation officer is like getting so much bad medicine right now from like all the ancestors.
Sasha, what do you think?
Well,
you don't even eat fish.
I don't. $90 is like 2 dates at Boston Pizza, but they don't go well because you're at Boston Pizza. I think this has shown me that Saskatchewan is looking out for the well-being of fish over Indigenous people. So I'm not surprised, you know.
That could be their motto. That could be one of their tourist. Leonard, what do you think of this?
First of all, it's resting niche face.
Resting niche face. Let's get that right.
Let's get that,
right off the top.
Get that right. Let's correct that. Secondly, $90 is a lot of money in 1871, where a lot of the mind states of those conservation officers probably still are. So, you know, like, you got to think about it from their context, man. That's like 18 years of treaty money.
All right, so the judge in this case really threw the book at the guy, obviously. I mean, they charged the guy for $90, but they weren't having any of his excuses, because you got to remember, one of the first things this guy did was he didn't ask for cash. He said, give me a few packs of cigarettes and I'll give you some fish, right? But anyways, so the judge says the fish in that particular lake are endangered and he shouldn't be selling them. I guess it's a fragile fishery there. Now, what do you make of that excuse?
Like smokes. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Like, what is he, like the Ricky of Canoe Lake? Like these fish. Oh, come on. They're endangered.
Yes.
They're endangered at Canoe Lake. Well, you know.
It isn't endangered, but they're saying that the fishery is, and that this was taking away from good, hard-working, legal commercial fishermen, I guess.
Good, hardworking, legal commercial fishermen who completely empty lakes of fish. Well, I will put a candle outside my window for those men.
Sasha?
I just think it's kind of funny. There's not. It's so dumb. Like it doesn't make any sense. No, like it's beyond hypocritical. It's dumb. That's it. Like I'm stuck for words.
Leonard, should First Nations though be taking more of a conservation approach themselves? Like, is this actually any? Could you apply that argument to this case?
I honestly, I feel like it was a case of entrapment. That's what his lawyer argued, and it seems like he didn't even want the money. He wanted a pack of smokes, which is bartering, which is, you know, like something that Indigenous people have been doing for thousands of years to trade, for sustainability. It wasn't like, you know, he went out and sought these officers out. I believe they approached him, and they wanted to see if they could get him to sell them fish, and eventually they got him to sell them fish, which was like their job, because it was part of their 16-month sting to see if they could see if Indigenous people would sell them fish. And they found the guy who would do it, and you know, like $90 worth of fish. What did they do with the fish? Did they eat it? You know, like what did they want those fish to just live and die in the lake and you know, like go back into the cycle of nature, or like what did they do with the fish is what I'm wondering, because like it seems like they probably got paid more than $90 a day just to be part of this thing. You know what I mean? And if this guy over 16 months sold them $90 worth of fish, like I just feel like it's pretty ridiculous that he was charged. And you know, it seems like it's something like he has a right to do. You know, he could remove fish from his lake and, you know, trade for cigarettes if he wishes to do so. In my opinion.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys a difficult question here. If anyone was to go undercover and entrap you for anything, what do you think would give you up? What would you probably get arrested for? What would somebody have to offer you in order for you to break the law? Give me anything.
Ooh. I don't know.
What can you not say no to?
I do have a weak spot for moose meat.
Yeah?
Like nice, tender moose meat. I go weak in the knees for moose meat.
Just get really quiet.
I think everyone felt it, you know?
Yeah, I'm a little hungry myself. Sasha, what would entrap you?
What would entrap me? With this mustache, I look like I trap a lot of people, but you know.
Yeah, you could be a cop.
So I might be an entrapper. I'm here to get all you guys. I got you.
Want to buy some grass?
It's been a 2-year sting. I got y'all.
I know the mustache makes sense. Leonard, what could somebody entrap you with?
Probably some good coffee.
Yeah?
You know? Like if I was
If it was against the law and somebody offered you coffee, you'd be
if
arrested.
I was in Canoe Lake and like living in, living on the res or in a like some sort of nice cabin, and I ran out of coffee, and the cops approached me and they're like, "Hey man, we'll give you some coffee for some fish." Be like, "Yo, better learn how to fish."
All right, we got another story. I think we've got enough time to talk about one more story. City of Winnipeg has a very old bridge in the middle of town called the Arlington Street Bridge. It's over 100 years old. If I understand this correctly, they're going to tear it down, rebuild a new one, and they are proposing to call it Reconciliation Bridge. Alyssa, I know you've got some strong thoughts on this. We'll start with you again. What do you think of cities, towns, whatever, naming things reconciliation?
Well, as a matter of fact, I actually bought a new kitten, and we have named her Reconciliation, and our entire family is fixed now. Like, no problems.
No problems, you guys
So I
are
think
reconciled?
the naming of this bridge will, in fact, put Winnipeg in full reconciliation mode. So I think it's such a good thing.
I think that Winnipeg has a good track record for just like not doing construction at all. So I think it's a really reflective way of just being like, we're just not going to finish it. It's never going to be done. It'll never be done.
It becomes a symbol.
It just becomes a symbol.
It becomes the symbol for
reconciliation. It's just reconciliation way. It's just garbage. You know?
Leonard?
Well, in my experience, the Arlington Bridge was the gateway to the stock exchange. So maybe they should call it the gateway to the stock.
And the stock exchange, you mean the old hotel?
Oh, yeah, the bar and hotel, yeah.
There's some context here for our viewers. The stock exchange is a very old, very storied hotel and bar in
it used to be like the bar on Once Were Warriors.
Warriors.
Like if you put that in Winnipeg, like that was what the stock exchange used to be. And I used to go hang out there every now and then. And I used to get there sometimes via Arlington Bridge.
There you go.
There we go.
Story time with Leonard someday. If you could name one thing in this city or in Canada, reconciliation, and actually have some kind of meeting, what do you think that would be? What would you call reconciliation?
I would name every public washroom reconciliation.
Because there's some reconciliation in there.
Going on in there.
I think I'm going to break the mold. I think that in a couple of years we're going to have everything called reconciliation, something. So I think we need to give back to the white people. So I think, that bridge should be named after things that white people like, like the Winnipeg Jets, coffee, I hate brown people, things that, white people love to do. I don't know.
Leonard, what are you going to call reconciliation?
When you get arrested. I feel like that should be like what they call reconciliation. It's like you are being reconciled right now, sir. You have the right to remain silent. You don't have any other right.
On that cheerful note, I'm afraid we've got to go for another week. Thank you so much to my Red Power panel for being here, and thank all of you for checking us out. We'll see you back here next week.